Now as for the cabinet, my original thinking was that this top got depressed from the weight on top of it. That this got warped down and the front popped off. But now, I don't think so. In fact, I think I can reach the same conclusion when I first took a look at this set. So if you look at this top, it is not depressed at all. And especially at the corners here, it's just this is not going to fit under this. There's just no way, unless I force it and break off some wood. Also, take a look at this. These grooves don't line up. It's as if this whole front got shifted this way a little bit, like a 32nd of an inch or 16th of an inch. Now it's actually pretty loose and getting looser every time I tug on this. So what I propose doing is cracking the front off. It's already separated across the entire top and down both sides to about here. So if I can just pop it off the bottom, I'll shift this down a little bit just so it fits snugly under the top, and then glue it back down. The question is, well, what's holding it on? There might be some small brad nails concealed under the finish. I hope there aren't. And I don't see any fasteners on the inside, so I think what I'll have to do is just start working something in here, a scraper, and see if I can pop this off without damaging anything. I've got the cabinet flipped over, and I'm slowly working a utility knife in along the seam. Also found one brad that I carefully removed. I think I'm getting close to having this popped off. Seems like it's attached the strongest in the middle, around where that brad was. I was probably used to hold it in place while the glue set up. Maybe there is a nail. Yeah, it feels like there's something really hard right about there. The scraper is kind of rocking back and forth on it. Or a putty knife, I should say. Huh. I'll examine more closely, and I think I'll just cut them if there are some in there. Well, I'm pretty sure there aren't any nails, so I kept going at it with the putty knife, and then I switched to this large flat chisel. And make a few more whacks, and it's going to be off. That's it. Ooh. And yeah, no nails. So it seems like whatever kind of glue they used held really well down in here. Not so much in the rest. Okay, so I'll just clean this up while I got this all open, get all the debris out of the inside, clean out the back of this, and then see about gluing it back on in the proper position. Here's a closer look at the front panel of the TV cabinet. It seems whatever glue they used on the cabinet that had failed has also failed to hold the grill cloth in very well, which works to my benefit. I was easily able to break it loose. It's this clear, hard, crystalline glue. Also failed to keep the safety glass held in. Well, these might be later repairs. I really couldn't say, which means that the original glue failed, somebody repaired it, and the repair failed as well. So, with those out of the way, I can now proceed to fix up the front of it. Definitely not going to strip this. I'm just going to touch it up a bit. Some of the decals are in fine condition, like brightness and horizontal. Some are missing a bit of vertical contrast. And volume off and on, the worst area being the channel selector. However, they're still fairly legible in decent condition, so I do not want to mess with them at all. Someday I may get reproductions made. Until then, I want to just preserve these. So I'm just going to clean up this area carefully with some Gojo pumice-free hand cleaner or mineral spirits, whichever seems to work better to clean off the crud on the surface, and then I'll clear coat it with some lacquer sanding sealer and then some semi-gloss lacquer. Likewise on the rest of this. The rest of it is pretty darn good shape. May use a little bit of touch up here and there, like up here. Just found an appropriate color. And here's where there was a sticker, I think, from the auction. Need to get that goo off. National logo is in fine condition. And once this is done, I will remount it. I already cleaned off the back of the cabinet and got the old glue off and trimmed back the lip a little bit so it can sit down further than it had been, so it now fits perfectly tight up against the top as it should have from the beginning. There we go. So no more gap along the top edge. Here's a better look at it. So once I get the front all cleaned up and the rest of the cabinet cleaned up, I will shoot some glue down in there and then clamp this tight. You can see the rest of the cabinet's in decent shape too, except for some chipped out veneer in the back. May try to fix that up, I may just leave it as is. I'm not trying to make this perfect, I'm not refinishing it. Just want to clean it up a bit. Get some of this old, what I presume is wax and oil off the surface. Give it a real light sanding, and then spray on a couple coats of semi-gloss lacquer just to protect it and preserve it. After spraying this with a couple coats of Mohawk sanding sealer, I lightly sanded with 600 grit, making sure I got all over every surface, all around the rounded edges, all nice and smooth. Now I'm going to spray in a couple coats of Mohawk semi-gloss. When I ordered this, I also picked up a little kit of these painter's pyramids and grabbers. These pyramids are is to put underneath your work, so when you're spraying it, painting it, you can get around the edges. So it elevates it like so. 4, so you can hit all the corners on a rectangle, like so. So that should help me out. And the grabbers are these grippy things you can put underneath a board, like this dinette table I'm wrapping up. So when you're sanding it or working on it, it doesn't slide around. Handy things to have for sure. Here's an update on the cabinet. After cleaning it with Gojo pumice-free hand cleaner, I went around all the edges and glued down any loose veneer, worked in the glue with toothpicks and razor blades, and I sanded it down lightly. And I also filled in the areas where there was veneer missing, a chunk here, chunk here, little chip here, with some quick setting plastic wood filler. And I then used a red mahogany and brown mahogany Mohawk Ultramark touch-up markers to blend it in. Not perfect, but from a distance I don't think anybody would notice. And I sprayed on, once that was set up, some lacquer sanding sealer, light sanding with 600 grit, and now I'm starting to put on some semi-gloss. I think after a bit more sanding and more coats of this, these will blend in even better, because right now they're a little bit shinier than the surrounding areas. Also went around any edges where there was noticeable finish loss and touched it up with the markers as well. Here's a look at the cabinet after a few rounds of light sanding and clear lacquer. Sides are coming out really nice. And the front, other than of course the decals being in bad condition. And then there's the top, where I've got a weird situation going on. Most of it looks fine, like the center area here, but in some areas there's some kind of reaction between the old finish and the new. It's not really like a fisheye situation where like you've got silicone that's gotten into the wood pores and the lacquer just won't stick in it, or like oil where it will kind of flow away from it and you get these pits in the finish. This is definitely being coated by lacquer. It just has a different sheen and different appearance to it. So I've already done a few passes of light sanding and lacquer. And also notice alligatoring keeps resurfacing this area too, whereas here the alligatoring is gone. So I can sand this perfectly smooth, no alligatoring, whole top looks good, spray another coat, and this happens again. The alligatoring reappears and it has this foggy appearance. It's almost like there's some kind of memory locked down in the old lacquer. So I don't know if these areas, if I sanded deeper into the old lacquer, or if I didn't sand it as much. So I'm really kind of not too sure what to do in these areas. I've tried putting some lacquer sanding sealer over that too, and that didn't have any effect. So I don't know if I should be sanding more to remove more of the old material so the new material works better, or did I not go as deep in these areas and I'm going to have to somehow seal this maybe with shellac or something to get it to look right, or keep doing what I'm doing. It does seem to be slowly getting better. Like for example, this whole edge looked bad before and now it's just bad in a few areas. So in other words, do some more sanding, put on some more coats, do some more sanding, put on some more coats until it finally all looks even. For the moment, that's what I'm going to try. So I just put on another coat. It's fairly dry. I'll let it sit a while longer, do a light sanding and spraying more, and hope these areas continue to shrink until they disappear altogether. Well, for a change, the weather is cooperating. We've had an unusually warm late December, so I've been able to spray up in the attic, and bit by bit I have been winning the war. So there's only a few small areas, like right here, where it's a little funky. The rest of it is looking fine. So I think in another day or two I can call this cabinet done.